Yeah, so this is another paid video. It said I need the 2005 to 2007 Peugeot 407 for commercial purpose. That's taxi. Question is it good choice? Must it be one with EW10 engine? What risk is there in EW12 and V6 in 407? So, is it a good choice? Yes, Peugeot 407 can be used for taxi. Can be used. People have done it before, and it will serve them and still serving them. So yes, can be used. But just that when you compare it to other Peugeot cars that some people use, like Peugeot 307, Peugeot 406, the maintenance cost will be lower when you use other models than Peugeot 407. That's the thing. The maintenance cost will be a little bit higher for a 407 doing the same work, commercial purpose. High in the sense that if the terrain you use the car is rough, like if the environment or the roads you use it is very rough, then the suspension, repairing the suspension of Peugeot 407 will cost you a little bit more than it could be, depending on how you drive the car, how rough you are also when driving the car on those bad roads. It could cost you just a little bit difference, or much higher than the 307 and 406. So if you are the type that likes speeding on bad roads, you jump every pothole, or when you get to a speed bump, instead of it to reduce speed, you jump it. With the same speed you come with at that bump. To people, that's even the normal drive. They don't even see it as anything wrong. So if you're that type, yes, it's going to cost you so much in repairing for your 407 suspension. But if you drive the normal, like the way I drive, people who have seen me driving on rough road will explain better to you. Sometimes you look like I'm boasting. Or if you have seen me, or you do see me driving on rough road, you understand. I crawl. I drive like tortoise. Once it comes to a road that is rough, that's how I drive. And that's how I hardly spend on repairing any suspension of my vehicle. I hardly replace any part. It takes a while before I had to replace any suspension components in any of my cars, because of the way I drive on rough roads, for bumps, speed bumps, roads with potholes and here and there. When I know I have no option is when I'm traveling, because in that case it will be on speed, so bumps will be hitting bumps here and there. I will try my best to avoid, to stay out of them the best I can, because you can't reduce your speed unless you do. The journey will turn into 3 days. So you just have to. That's the Nigerian highway for you. Everybody knows that, so I don't need to go into it. But driving inside the city, no, I just could reduce my speed. As in, once I get to a bump, I reduce it, drive into it, come out, continue. Drive on top of it. If it's a speed bump, gradually climb it, come down, zoom off. I don't, So you have to adopt that kind of attitude or driving style if you want to use Peugeot 407 for commercial purpose. Even if the traffic light is about to stop people on that or the cars from moving, it's about to hit stop. Some people will start speeding on speed bump just because they don't want to wait for the next 1 minute or less than a minute for other cars to pass. They will speed on high on speed bump to pass before the traffic light stops them, not minding the consequences of speeding on those things, what they will cost them on that vehicle. So that's one thing you should know. If you want to use Peugeot 407 for commercial purpose, their suspension is fragile compared to 406, 307 that other people use for it. It's very superior performance-wise, but it's a complex one, and which makes it so fragile. So few things will spoil on the 406 and 307 one, but for 407, a lot of things depending on how you drive. If you drive very slowly on speed bumps, it means when you need to replace your component, your suspension pipe, you just be very few things that will fail. But if you are the type that drive very fast and drive very roughly on those things, then more things will fail on there because they have a lot of more components, suspension components than these other two cars that I mentioned. So you have to understand that. Now the next question is, okay, first the reason why I was specific on suspension because basically every other thing, like the mechanicals, are just the same engine, same gearbox, you know. Even the one that is a little bit different, it's still the same maintenance cost, so it's not like going to be spending excessively. So it's basically every other thing is the same. If you're not the type that abuse electric cars electrically, you won't have any issue. It won't cost you more maintaining 407 electric car, except the ABS sensor with 407, they don't last. So every night, once in a while, you'll be replacing them, but they are very cheap anyway. They are cheap as last time I asked, 5,000 or 6,000. They are not OEM, they have this aftermarket new ones, and they work. They can last you more than a year, depending on how you drive. All those things is if you drive very roughly, the sensor will fail. They don't like I said, Peugeot 407 suspension setup is not, especially the suspension, it's not as solid as the other ones, or rugged, let me use that one, not as rugged, but then when it comes to performance, it's much better than the 406 307. It's like road handle, it's more like a performance suspension, but not solid or strong or rugged than the other ones. So you have to consider all those things. So every other thing, if you're not the abusive type of person when it comes to cars, on the engine, the electric cars, the body, then you won't have any problem. Okay, so now you said must it be EW10 engine? So I don't know if you meant EW10J4, because there are two EW10 in 407. So one is EW10J4, second one is EW10A. So I assume you are talking about EW10J4, the common one in 406. The reason why I recommend that one instead of the EW12 and the V6 is because, I mean, this is for a business, right? You are not buying it's like saying, should I use a sports car for taxi? I don't know how logical it sounds, unless you are using it for the taxi purpose for people that want special, others, you understand what I mean, like chauffeur wants a special distance, so they call you, take them there, they pay you sometimes really high, but not like Uber or normal taxi people drive and wait for people to flag you down. So I'm not saying Peugeot 407 with these two engines are sports cars, but I'm saying sports cars or cars designed for speed or for fun or for performance, they are meant to consume more fuel than the other ones that are built specifically for fuel economy. Now I'm talking about the engine. So why buy something that will consume more and take more from the profit you are supposed to make. So you make less profit in the business when you have something else that will make you more profit with that same model of vehicle. So that's my point. And so you can use either. There are some. I know someone that have used EW12 and it made him serious profit, serious one. Yeah. So, but it all depends on his driving. So I see EW12 is 2.2. So but the consumption won't is similar to VC, but at least still lower. So it just in his own case, it was manual, so he was able to, with manual, you can actually control the fuel consumption. Automatic, especially the 4HP20, won't really let you. You can, I don't know, I don't just like that gearbox anyway. So the manual one will consume much less than the automatic for EW12. Remember, it's 6 speed, so you can be able to reduce your RPM in the while driving, even if it's on highway. Unless you start speeding, you actually intentionally want to speed. Of course, the first consumption will speed up. But for the VCs, don't even bother about it. Don't even go there. Don't even go there. I'm not saying the VCs fuel consumption, that VCs guzzles fuel, but I'm saying it's pointless. It's for performance. So why buy and waste all the money you're supposed to gain in profit on fueling the car? And then V647 is also, it's not just about the engine. The packaging is different from the other ones. The suspension, the steering, so many other things. So if your suspension of Peugeot 407 fails, you will spend more. For example, the shock absorber costs more than the 4-cylinder Peugeot 407. The shock absorber, both the front and the rear. So you need to understand that. So it's better if you are using 407 for commercial, use the one that the suspension will cost you less, because these are wearable parts. You don't need a car that all the profit you are making, you are spending it in replacing the suspension all the time. No matter what you do, your suspension must pack on, especially in a country like Nigeria. The road is not all that smooth, depending on your environment. There are some places you stay. If you drive within like Abuja city, you hardly hit rough road like that. But if you drive in and out of the city, yes, once in a while, yeah, you'll be hitting rough roads. That even if you live in the city, you always drive in some terrains that are rough anyway. So it all depends. So forget about that V6. If you don't want 2.0 liter engine, that must be something a little bit bigger. Then don't go beyond the 2.2. That's EW12J4. So not just because of the fuel consumption. I'm talking about other things that the car comes with, that are packaged with in the vehicle. The V6 one is for private use. If you use it, this thing, it means you will borrow money all the time in fixing the car, because you no longer have whatever money you are making, you will be spending it on suspension or other things to keep V6 running. This is cost of maintenance is higher than the 4-cylinder. But if you are the type that don't abuse cars, you barely will even notice the difference. I'm telling you as also a V6 user. If you don't abuse cars, you will even notice the maintenance cost difference. It will be almost like the same. But that is private. Commercial use means your car will be stressed more than the private use. So parts will be failing faster than the private user. So you understand what I mean. So the best of them, personally, I prefer EW10A for this kind of purpose. 2.0 liter as well. It consumes much less than the EW10J4. I'm not saying the difference is that high, but at least in fact, that's the best when it comes to fuel consumption or fuel economy. will give you the best. If you want a Peugeot, not even 1.8. 1.8 self doesn't consume as low as, especially the EW7J4. Unless if you can't afford, if you don't want EW10A, you can get EW7A, which is also serve you as EW10A, or consume a little bit less than EW10A. But the problem is, will you be willing to spend, because it needs special care, that engine. So if you need either you be doing the repairs yourself, diagnosis, at least, even if you don't want to do it, you diagnose it yourself. You learn how to diagnose the vehicle, or you give someone that understands the engine, not a quack. A specialist or someone that doesn't abuse cars will be the one doing the diagnosis and repairs for you. And such person will not charge you as low as those local ones that abuse cars, that do cut and join. Majority of them even hate that engine because they don't understand it. So if you give it to them, they will start messing it up for you. So are you willing to start doing the diagnosis for yourself, by yourself? Are you willing to be giving someone that you pay higher to do the repairs or diagnosis for you, so that the engine doesn't get abused? I know people that use that engine that for years now, even someone that used it for years and never gave him any problem. That's this same EW10A. But he took my advice and took care of the car and never had any issue. No abuse. So that's what I'm saying. You need to be prepared if that's what you want. If you want the one that will give you the less fuel consumption, they go for that one. If you are not ready, then go for the one that local mechanics are more common or familiar with, which is the EW10J4, which I believe that's the one you meant. So that one, even when you abuse it, it could take abuse for a long time before eventually will pack up or start showing you sign of abuse. Unlike the EW10A, they don't even tolerate it at all. Even the engine oil, just only one engine oil recommended, which costs higher than other ones. Like EW10J4, you can use 10W40, but EW10A, you must be 5W40. Not just any 5W40. I've already mentioned the oil specification for it. That's in terms of this oil certification. I've posted it on YouTube, articles, and the rest. So the maintenance cost will be much higher. So you are better off with EW10J4 for this purpose. If you don't like it, then it will cost you much higher to keep your business running, or you spend a little bit more on keeping the car running in the business. That's the point. Other options are there, but they will cost you more. EW10J4 will cost you much less. So I think that's all I have. And if I were you, before you go and buy, find somebody to inspect the vehicle for you, so I don't end up buying an abused Peugeot 407. You will hate that decision if you buy an abused Peugeot 407 for commercial purpose. You do. You will have one thing I don't bother myself again is experience teaches. You would learn it if you make that mistake. You could be lucky and you make the attempt and get a non-abused one. But if you end up with one that has been messed up electrically, you will see 407. Well, like I said, experience teaches. You will be the one crying, "How did you end up with this car? Why did you even bother to ever buy Peugeot 407? So avoid buying an abused Peugeot 407 and also keep it that way when you buy it. Don't go and start messing it up, start cutting corners just to save money. Most times it's not even saving money, it's even costing you more, because it's just that it's lack of interest people maintaining their cars that's leading them to be abusing cars. It's not that there's even a cheaper way of doing it, of maintaining cars. No, it's just lack of interest. They just don't care. Whatever happens, as long as it works, So you now keep spending more trying to fix more problem that abuse have brought up, rather than the person that doesn't abuse car, that takes a while before he even have a need to take his car to a workshop for a diagnosis or repairs. You almost every day you are going there because the abuse will keep complicating, messing other system up. They keep failing until the car will pack up for good. So don't make that mistake. But if you like, you risk it. So it's your choice. So I don't know if you purchased already or intend to. I'm just pointing it out. Okay, so that's all for this video.